What's going on, everybody? Welcome in to the Blazers Uprise Postgame Show powered by BetUS. Today is retro night. And the Blazers get screwed by refs. Don't let the hippie look and the heart sunglasses fool you. The Blazers down the stretch. I hate the refs, man. I hate the refs, all right? That was one of the worst refereed final couple minutes I've seen in quite a while. But it's all good. It's all good. I don't know how to I don't know how to talk like a hippie. I just got the look. I got the Fleetwood Mac shirt, Eric. The Fleetwood Mac, the heart sunglasses, and vaguely. But, I had you muted. Wait. The sunglasses, okay? I gotta be able to see my screen. All right, yeah, there we go. Eric asked if I know who Fleetwood Mac is, and I said vaguely. It's funny because you can see my screen in these sunglasses. So you get to see anything I'm looking at while I stream tonight. Yeah, but appreciate you guys hanging out with us late, right? The game, it's funny because today we were talking about how the post-game show is going to go live a little bit later than usual, and then the NBA is like, okay, well, we're going to start the game earlier than usual, earlier than planned. They bump up the game an hour. So still, we do a post-game show for every single Blazer game, no matter what. Rain, snow, sunshine, doesn't matter. We got you covered, and we're going to break down this Blazer game as the Blazers lose late to the Dallas Mavericks, 117-111, behind some very questionable calls. Eric got the retro Blazers jersey. I want to see you in like an afro, though. Yeah. Then nobody could ever talk about how you don't have hair again.
Yeah.
But, yeah, thank you guys for hanging out with us, joining us late to break down this one. Appreciate y'all, and yeah, we'll give you guys hopefully a fun post-game show.
They brought Joshua was asking why they moved the game up an hour. There's supposed to be a huge snow/ice storm in Texas, and so they wanted to make sure they got the game taken care of before that storm hit. So that's all.
Yeah.
Hey, yeah. Tori, do you remember that like viral thing where it was like there was some dude like hanging out the back of a truck or something drinking ocean spray juice or something?
I have no idea what this reference is, man.
You don't remember like people were mimicking it and doing like hanging off of cars drinking ocean spray or whatever? No. I think it was ocean spray. Okay. Yeah. Never mind. The song that was played in that was Fleetwood Mac. So like I was like, oh, maybe that would relate to some sort of song you knew. I don't know.
I would definitely recognize some of their music. I'm more musically inclined than I am with movies. All right, I don't know movies well at all, but with music, I am better with that. I am more cultured with that. So. I'll have to listen to some after this and just get in touch with the shirt that I'm wearing. I saw somebody in chat say, real hippies don't wear shirts. You guys aren't getting everything tonight, okay? You're getting a little greedy there, all right? But we will break down this game. Eric, we got to start with the final couple of minutes. And there was a game earlier in the year where I was really frustrated with the refs, and I came on the post-game show, and you're like, I don't think they were that bad. You kind of disagreed with me, and that was after a Suns game, right? I was sitting there ranting about refs on Suns Valley podcast. Is this game the same, or is this game different for you? Because the final couple of minutes I thought were an absolute joke, and why, a perfect example of why people hate NBA referees.
It's tough to answer that question because I just finished watching most of it. So, but like I had already known that the refs were bad going into it. So like I wasn't that like visceral reaction to them being bad, So like it's hard for me to say. I mean, it was bad, but it's like hard for me to say like, oh my God, it was so egregious because like I already knew it was going to be bad heading in. So I think I don't know, I could already set myself up. So I don't know if it's like just that or not, but yeah, I mean, it was bad.
Let the anger roll through you. I am not a peaceful hippie right now. Let the anger roll through you, Eric. I mean, where do you want to start? So Klingon blocks PJ Washington, they call a foul. That was a clean block. Right, dude? I think that was a clean as day block, okay? The challenge felt like one of those things where it's like, Whoa. Where's my phone?
Wow.
Wow.
Listen to yourself?
Wow, I'm giving myself a free view that I don't deserve. All right, whoops. Yeah, I had the stream because I had to tell people because we had like 12 minutes on the intro. Sorry, I was preparing myself. So the challenge I thought was egregious, man, because it's like if you get forearm first, which I think is pretty clearly you got forearm first, it's a foul. It's a foul. Like if you shove somebody while somebody else blocks them, they still call a foul. Like if you shove somebody down low, it's the same thing on forearm. If you get somebody's forearm and then hit the ball, it's a foul, right? Like if you shoot a jumper and somebody hits your elbow, comes up and hits the ball, it's a foul.
Mm-hmm.
How the hell do you overturn that? How is there conclusive evidence that there's not a foul on that? That was, in my opinion, the worst overturned review against the Blazers that I've ever seen. Like, maybe I'm forgetting something, but that was I think that was egregious overturn. Like, it's almost like they only saw the one angle from the very back where you only saw the block. It's like they only saw that angle and they didn't see the angle from the side where it's obvious he gets hit on the forearm. Okay? I thought that was freaking ridiculous to overturn because at worst it's inconclusive and the call on the floor should stand.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Well, isn't a block shot a shot attempt?
Yeah.
So how is it a loose ball foul too? Like,
I didn't understand that part at all. I did not understand that part enough to even like be mad about it. I just like the overturn is like what the hell, and then after that it's like, oh, you guys wanted to screw the Blazers, but also didn't want to completely screw them, so you still somehow gave them the ball, but no free throws. Like it made no sense to me at all.
yeah, I had like, I mean, well, first of all, I don't think it was a block. I think it was a foul. And then second of all, like to call it a loose ball, like the ball literally went in the hoop, right?
Yeah.
That's the play we're talking about. So like, I don't understand. Like I'm still like confused on what happened there. Like, and so maybe that's part of my thing about the refs too. I'm just like so baffled by it that I can't comprehend it right now.
Yeah. And then you have the Tumani. Derek Lively slides into him as Tumani tries to sidestep him. Okay. They call that all the time. All the time they call that foul. All the time. And it's obvious because you can just watch Derek Lively's feet on that play. He steps into him and turns. And it's obvious if you just watch his feet. Like, how do you miss that, okay? But fine, if you're not going to call that, don't call the clean block then because that was clean, okay? And then don't go down and call the Quentin Grimes BS. Like, the overturn pissed me off, and then the Quentin Grimes call at the end, that and one, I know he made the shot, so they're probably still going to lose. It's kind of the principle of it for me. Like, you just had a center slide into somebody shooting a layup and didn't call foul, but then Quentin Grimes is going to initiate all the contact, drive straight into the defender, and bounce off him, where the defender's just standing there and you're going to give him the foul, which is the worst call that the NBA rewards offensive players for.
Yeah.
It's just stupid. It's just stupid inconsistency where you're just like, the refs are just guessing and they're going to call half the stuff and it's not going to have any consistency, and then they're going to over-reward the offense on stuff that is not fouls. Like, neither one of those defensive plays for the Blazers were fouls. They get called, and then there was 2 plays for the Blazers where they get fouled on offense. One gets overturned on a stupid review. One doesn't even get called. I mean, even the Shaedon Sharpe travel, he gets the ball and kind of goes up, and Derek Lively's over him, makes contact. Like, if they were calling it the way they called it for the Mavericks, that's a foul, not a travel. Right? But whatever. It's just egregiously bad. So it's frustrating to lose a game like that, even in a year like this.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that aside, I do think this was a good tanking loss. You had good performances from Simon, Sharpe, and Scoot, and you barely lost. Like, that's about as good of a rebuilding season loss as you can have, right? So It's just frustrating the way it happens. And it's more so just bigger picture for me. It's more so like, okay, sure, they lost this game. I'm not that mad that they lost. I'm mad about the way this league continues to be refereed, where you can have games completely ruined by the BS from the way this league is reffed. And when you have games ruined like that, it's like, all right, you just play basketball for 2.5 hours, but it doesn't come down to the players. It comes down to the morons blowing their whistles and whatever the hell happened on that review. And I just hate when games come down to that. No matter what the outcome is, I hate when games are decided by that type of crap. So it sucks. It's frustrating. And it's like, we talk about player development, and the goal is to get these young guys crunch time minutes to develop where, you know, they can get experience in pressure packed situations, especially when they're on the road, right? And it's like, you completely take that away from their hands in this game. You completely take it out of their hands because you don't know how to referee a game. So I thought that was a travesty.
Do you think, I mean, not to blame Chauncey necessarily, but just philosophically, do you feel like when a coach doesn't do enough to complain or get on the refs, do you think that does have some impact on calls going against you in those situations? Or do you think that's just completely separate?
I feel like I've seen enough instances where a coach starts screaming and hollering and maybe gets a tech, gives up a point, but then the refs start calling stuff in his favor to believe that, you know.
I mean, how many teams has Chauncey gotten as our coach?
Not enough, man. And
maybe
listen,
3. I don't know.
If he gets a T there in a close game because of those calls, people are roasting him. Like, you gave up a point in a 1-possession game, you made it a 2-possession game, and it wasn't going to fix the call, right? So I'm not going to say he didn't do enough in the final 2 minutes, but over the course of game, like earlier in a game, there's not enough instances, and this goes back to the whole nonchalantness of Chauncey when he coaches. The down 25 and clapping, right? The loss against Detroit, okay, we didn't talk about this on the post-game show, but Ant loses the ball, and he's, pissed going off the court. Pissed that they lost, pissed that he lost the ball, just super frustrated, visibly, emotionally frustrated, pissed off about that loss. And then the camera cuts to Chauncey Billups all smiling and dapping it up with the other team. And that, I get it, he's back in Detroit, whatever, but that just kind of feels weird. It's just not a great look, to go from Ant's pissed off, he just lost the game, a very close game, to Chauncey, and he just doesn't even care. He's just dapping up the other team, cool with all the other players respect him, man, and he's just, chopping it up, doesn't even matter that they lost, not mad that they lost. And then you look at sometimes when the Blazers get screwed by calls, and he's sometimes just the most chill coach in the league when the Blazers are getting screwed by the whistle. So and it just feels like he's so nonchalant that when he actually does get mad at refs, it almost feels performative. He feels like that's what he should be doing, so that's why he's doing it, not because he's actually frustrated. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And it's just weird.
Yeah, because there was a play with a little over 5 minutes left where Denny drove. He felt like he got fouled. Dallas went and scored on the other end. Chauncey called a timeout. And the broadcast mentioned how Chauncey was incensed on the sideline. And then they showed it to him, and he's just standing there. Right? I'm okay, that's Chauncey being incensed. Yeah. To me, if you voice your frustration a little better at earlier points in the game, maybe by that point you've gotten your point across.
Yeah.
So I think that's where it is. I agree that in the heat of a moment in a close game, you shouldn't just choose that I'm going to get a technical right now or whatever. But I feel like you need to get a T sometimes throughout the game when things aren't going your way. But apparently, according to Dallas fans on social media, the refs were completely in the Blazers' favor tonight. It's pretty funny.
Well, let's take a look at the team stats. Oh, look, Dallas shot 10 more free throws. Dallas shot 10 more free throws. But the refs are in the Blazers' favor. How can you sit there and say the refs are in the Blazers' favor after those final 2 minutes? Like, we don't come on here complaining about the refs a lot.
12 free throws.
All right, man. Like, it's just... They don't have anybody that gets... They don't have any free throw merchants. It's not like they have Luka on the floor. They shot 30 free throws where PJ Washington gets 11, right? Like, he gets rewarded all night. He gets rewarded where Klingon blocks his shit, and it doesn't even matter. Oh, you fouled the basketball. Free throws for PJ Washington. Cool, man. Cool. Like that block was ridiculous. That was just like guessing he got hit because you definitely didn't see the dude get hit, and that's the problem with NBA refs is like they'll always guess in the favor of the offense if it's like a bigger market or a better team. And there seems to be some sort of bias for that. And it always seems to screw the Blazers. Where you got this dude gets all ball and it doesn't even matter. Doesn't even matter. So, yeah.
Frustrating, man. But, yeah, I mean, I guess when you don't care about winning and losing, it doesn't really matter, right? But
my frustration is like beyond the Blazers. It's just with the way this league is reffed in general.
I've been on that for a while now.
Dude, you know what really like opened my eyes even more was watching the Olympics and watching FIBA basketball. Mm-hmm. Where the refs don't guess at anything. Like if they don't see a foul, they're not calling a foul. Right? And they don't buy, oh, the offensive player drove into a defender and then like flew 5 feet away from him. That must be a foul. Send them to the line. They don't do that. They don't do that. Right? Like if a defender shoves someone, they'll call it. If the offensive player initiates the contact more than the defender and the defender just sits there and maybe braces and maybe moves into them a little bit, but the offensive player is creating most of the contact, they don't reward the offense. In watching that basketball, it was like, man, I wish the NBA was refereed like this. It would feel more real and less performative where, yeah, man, if you're a star, just drive at your defender. If he actually defends you, just drive into him, flail your arms, drive into him, bounce off him hard enough, you'll get a foul. It's terrible. And the NBA, you know, a lot's been said about their problems with ratings, but I think that is maybe more of a factor than the three-point shooting in terms of ratings going down. Because, especially for like the older crowd, right? It's like, oh, these teams shoot so many threes. But also what's the other thing is like they think the 80s and 90s, oh, it was so much more physical. I think it turns off the older NBA fan.
You're going to say me.
I'm not necessarily you.
I know, just kidding.
Not necessarily you. You're not that old, okay? I saw somebody call you retro just in terms of your age earlier. I thought that was
I know. Thanks, Carbon.
You know, I don't think you're quite there yet, but just, you know, you're like 45 going on 25. So, but it's when older basketball fans watch this basketball and you see something where it's like, man, this dude got a clean block and they're calling a foul. Why? Oh, this offensive player just drove right into the defender and then like flailed and it's a foul on the defense. Like, I think that turns people off. And that's where I get frustrated, man, is I think if the game was reffed more like FIBA, where you let defenders be more physical and you didn't reward offense for BS, I think it would be a perfect balance of offense and defense because you got so much skill and so much shooting. It's already hard enough on the defense. So, like, if you were able to allow the defense to get away with a little bit more, it's not like games are going to go back to being in the 80s. A lot of teams will have 5 shooters on the floor and can space the floor like never before. You're still going to be able to get buckets. Allow the defense to be a little bit more physical and don't reward BS because teams can score otherwise. They don't need to. But they do because they can get away with it and because it works. And that's why it drives me crazy. And that's why that last Quentin Grimes drive drove me crazy too because he's just driving into the defender and falling away enough to get a call. Mm-hmm. So,
Kenny D says that's why Embiid sucks in FIBA play. He can't be a free throw merchant.
Yeah, like stars are stars because of their skill, but it's like Embiid gets put in that setting, and he's very freaking skilled, but he's so used to relying upon all this BS to manufacture points at the free throw line that he's not the same player.
Yeah. So to reiterate your point, I guess I too do not care how many 3-point shots. Like that doesn't make me not interested in the NBA. If there's a lot of 3-point shots, I like the 3-point shots, so that's fine to me. But my whole life, I've hated anytime an offensive player gets rewarded for initiating the contact. Like if he elbows you or ducks his shoulder into you, that should be a no call or a foul on him if it's too hard. But like it should in most cases just be a no call. Let him play. And that dude, nothing gets me heated more in a basketball game like uh, rec league or whatever when you're just standing there and someone drops their shoulder into you or elbows you and you get called for a foul. It's like, what in the heck, dude?
You know what's funny is so in my Tuesday Thursday leagues we it's call your own fouls, which can get a little messy, but there's no like hot heads, right? So it's not maybe as bad as it sounds, but there's times where guys will just put their shoulder down, man. I had something happen like that today. Dude just puts his shoulder down, and I could tell he's just going to drive right into me. It's a pretty strong dude. So I just brace, and I just stand there, and I hold my ground, take the contact to the chest, and he, like, bounces off me, where he, like, loads up, goes into me, and I hold my ground enough. He bounces off me, then starts yelling about how I shoved him. It's like, nah, dude. You went into me and you bounced off me. Like it's not. This is all you, man. Like, so I hate that stuff too, man. It's just lame. But yeah, you know, the refs are the refs. The refs screwed the Blazers, is what it is. But at least there's some good performances to talk about. So I'll start with where you want to start, and then let's see the player of the game poll. We got. It's super close. I'll give you guys a few more minutes. It's tied right now between Scoot and Shea. So I'll give you guys a little bit more time to vote in the player of the game poll. Also, leave a like on the stream. Please leave a like on the stream. It's the easiest way to support the channel. Hit that like button. We're at 32 likes. Let's see if we can get that to 100 tonight. We would greatly appreciate that. And yeah, vote for the player of the game in the chat poll. I guess since it's between Scoot and Shaedon, you want to talk about Anthony, Eric?
Yeah. I thought throughout this game, Anthony was pretty until the end when both him and Sharpe. I like the fact that him and Sharpe took pretty much every shot down the stretch outside of the Tamani basket, but yeah, they missed like everyone down the stretch, and both hurt their shooting percentages pretty bad after most of the game was good. I think Ant was 4 for 6 after he hit those couple threes in the third quarter and ended up missing his last 4 in the fourth. So yeah, I thought overall it was a good game. It just sucked that both him and Shaedon went ice cold there down in the last few possessions when we really needed a basket.
Yeah, man. I mean, this team has been much more competitive offensively lately because of Anthony's shot making and Anthony making tough shots. And some fans are going to be frustrated maybe with some of the attempts he takes, but it's not like this offense is good, and it's not like this offense does a good job of setting him up with easier shots. There's a metric that looks at the players that shoot the most difficult shots in the league, and Ant is second, where he shoots the second most difficult shots in the league. I forget exactly what the metric is called, but this is something that we saw last year too, where Anthony Simons shoots tough shots, and lately he's been making a very heavy diet of some tough contested jump shots.
Yeah.
And you kind of live by that, you kind of die by that, right? And the problem is it's really tough to consistently be like a 25 to 27 point per game scorer efficiently on the shot diet that he has. I think part of it is, we criticize Chauncey and the way he sets up his guys. I don't think, Chauncey sets up Ant in the most optimal position to get easier shots, number one. Like, a lot of it's just give the ball to Ant, very stagnant, Ant make something happen. Ant, please save us. But also I think a little bit of it's on Ant where he's, 6'3". He's not Luka where he can just isolate and manufacture a higher quality shot all the time. Like, he's some of it is, he's not a superstar level offensive talent, And I don't say that to bring him down or anything. It's just he is what he is. Like, he's a guy that can make some tough shots and, is not a top 10 player in the world where you can just give him the ball and get out of the way and he's going to generate easier shots, right? So you're going to live by that. You're going to die by that. And that's just kind of the mindset that I've tried to have. I think and I've talked about it this year, I think there's plenty of times where he gets tunnel vision, plenty of times where he doesn't make a read that he should make. And those are the times where I'm critical of Anthony Simons. But at the end of the day, like, this offense sucks, and in order to be better offensively, they need him to make these tough shots that he has to take. And when he doesn't, yeah, it's frustrating, but it's why you were in the game in the first place. So, how can you complain too much about it?
And that's why it's we harp so much on the way our offenses run, is because what do we do to get these guys a better shot than here, make something happen, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, tough that he missed some shots down the stretch. What did he even shoot?
He ended up 9 of 22.
Yeah. I would like to see him get to the free throw line a little bit more. He just hasn't improved enough. And that's the thing, is like, if he's taking all these tough shots, like, okay, so he's guarded, you would hope that he could get fouled on more of them.
Yeah.
Like, here's the thing, man. He's crafty around the rim. How many times do you see him, like, drive and pump fake a mid-range jumper and then, like, try and step under or, like, draw the foul?
He doesn't really.
He never does. He never does. You see somebody like SGA, he's a little bit bigger, but he lives off that. Like, Jalen Brunson lives off that. And it's like, Ant has all these crafty hooks. Like, man, I'd love for him to drive to the mid-range. Maybe he doesn't get a step, but maybe he, like, step back, pump fake, see if you can get the defender in the air. If not, okay, then shoot it. If you get the defender in the air, draw the foul, get to the line, get an easier shot than a contested step back mid-range. Or, step through and shoot a little scoop shot because he's good at scoop shots. And it's just kind of, it's been baffling to me why he doesn't do more of that. Because you see a lot of the best scoring guards in the league that are maybe a little bit better than him, but even a guy like Jalen Brunson, who's even smaller than him, thrive off that. And I think that's something that he could add to take his scoring to another level. And also, if you step through and somebody helps over, okay, you're slowed down. You can easily make a good pass or draw an extra defender if you can get your primary defender in the air and step through on him. Like, you're going to draw another one. So you can play make out of it, right? And you can work out of that. And it's just a facet of his game he's never developed, unfortunately, and I just don't really know why.
Yeah. I agree, man. The thing I do like about Anthony last 2 games is, one, I think he had no turnovers last game, 1 turnover tonight. So at least he's taking care of the ball and not being careless. But yeah, getting to the free throw line would really help. And that's, when we talk about someone in a minute, that's one thing that has been key for him when he has really good games, is getting free throws. And that's true for a lot of players. And so if he could get to the line more often, I think it would help him out a lot. That craftiness he uses to avoid contact a lot of times. But, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I just play off 2 in the lane, man. Play off your pump fake. Like,
yeah, it's
just like a little bit of a lack of craftiness in that mid-range area that I just wish he would add. But I don't know, man. I feel like he would have added it by now. Like, he likes the shots that he likes, and when he gets going downhill, he either wants to pull up, step back, straight into it, or try and get to the rim, and it's just very direct. So,
yeah.
A different coach, though, like, maybe they could get something out of him there, because that's the one of the biggest thing I think his game is missing. I like if he could add Jalen Brunson's, some of his package in the mid range with some of his pivots, pump fakes, that sort of stuff, like, he'd probably be a star. Be a star. So
I wonder if it's just like the body type, because I feel like Scoot is more like, I don't know, just likely to have that kind of in between pump fake game than Anthony, just because, I don't know, when you're that skinny and small, it just feels like it's hard to, like, use your body a lot in the paint.
The thing is you don't necessarily need to like create contact on some of the moves, right? Some of it's just pump fake and get a defender in the air, like stepping around him. Right?
Yeah, true.
And Ant is good at shooting all these weird extended layups, extended angles. So I don't know. I feel like he could be good at scoring in that way, and it's just not really a thing for him. So, but still, like, he's been shooting the ball well lately. Like, if this is a bad game, this is much better than his bad games earlier in the season. You know, I say that about Scoot compared to last year with some of his bad games. You know, he was 6 for 15 last game. People say he sucks, but it's like one of those misses was a desperation, like, shot clock shot that got blocked. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So, was he really that bad? You take that out, 6 for 14. You take out the grenade, like, okay, yeah, it's not efficient, but it's better than the 2 for 13 games that he's had in the past. So for Ant, man, like, this is much better than his bad game earlier in the season. Where, like, this would have been a good game for him earlier in the season.
Yeah.
So
I think it's shooting 50%, they said during the broadcast during the month. I don't know if that was including where he was at in the game so far, but definitely shooting the lights out so far. And man, it's like he hits those 2 deep threes coming out of halftime, and it seemed like he was going to get going, but just didn't quite have it down the stretch. And part of that is, once again, we'll talk about this maybe being a factor, but when you're playing heavy minutes, you have an 8-man rotation, 9-man rotation lately. Some of those 9 are only playing, 10 to 12 minutes and stuff like that. I do wonder, 5th game of a road trip, you're tired, it's the back-to-back. You played a bunch of games with heavy minutes. I know we blew out the Pelicans last night, so it wasn't as bad as it could have been. But I think it's okay to say, maybe this team just ran out of gas tonight, and then to have the refs against them as well, like, it's just a little bit too much to overcome, I guess. And they could have still made some ridiculous shots and won this game. They had control for most of the game, but I think it's okay to have games like this too, where you maybe just didn't have enough in this one, even though you were playing another team that was depleted. I think sometimes it's okay to just take a step back and say, you know what, these guys gave it all. They had a good road trip, regardless if they won tonight or not, for the situation that it was. They probably, honestly, they blow that lead in Detroit. Mm-hmm. I don't. How much did they lose by in the Lakers game?
Like 8.
Yeah,
I think.
But they
were competitive in every game.
They easily should have been 4-1 probably on this trip. Yeah. And so, like, I think you are happy with that. And if you're not harping on wins and losses and overall record, I think just looking at the way this team played on this road trip, I think if you would have told any of us that they would play this way and be competitive in all the games, I think we'd all take that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So player of the game, as voted on in the chat poll, is Shaedon Sharpe. All right, Shaedon.
This is a good poll for once.
I know, very competitive. Very competitive. But we'll talk about Sharpe, man. So, he had the 21 points in the first half last game, and then didn't score in the second half. Tonight, 22 points, 3 for 6 from 3, so another good 3-point shooting night. Okay, 8 boards. He's starting to rebound a little bit more. Had 3 assists, 3 turnovers. The playmaking, he has some nice passes, but, assist to turnover ratio isn't really in his favor. But it's good to see the flashes, right? Especially because he's not a point guard. 8 for 19 from the field. So he was 5 for 13 inside the arc. You'd like to see him be a little bit more efficient there. Played 32 minutes, 5 fouls. He, I don't know. This was a decent game, and like, this felt like, the thing is so he scores 22, and it doesn't feel like that great of a game, and that's probably a good thing. Like, if he could have a game where he scores 22 on 8 for 19 shooting with like 8 boards, 3 assists, and she's like, oh, it was like an okay game for Sharpe, and that means he's raising the baseline, right?
Yeah. Moshman says he played well until being too selfish near the end, like Ant. But isn't that what everyone's asking him to do? Like you can't. I don't think you can have it both ways, right? Like you can't say, "Okay, we need you to take over and start playing like a star," and then not be
Yeah.
selfish when it like I'm fine with him being selfish right now because it might not work. Like it might be a case where he's just not that player, right?
Yeah.
Like it could be that way. But if he is going to be a star, you have to be able to take over games and be selfish at times and do that. Like every star is like that, right? So I I'm totally fine with him trying to assert himself. I feel like that's the right mentality to have, and he's been really good in the clutch. I'll say the same thing I said about when Anthony lost the ball against Detroit on that last play. It's like, like you're not going to be perfect in the clutch every game. These guys are amongst Anthony and Shaedon, I'm talking about, are amongst the league leaders in efficiency and points in the last few minutes of a close game and clutch time situations, all that kind of stuff. So like, just like they're gonna have games where it looks bad too because they missed the shots. Like Michael Jordan, what's the Michael Jordan quote? You miss 100% of the shots you don't take,
Yeah.
or yeah, like so. You have to learn how to do it, and no one shoots 100%, especially not in clutch time. There's a reason why most people have worse percentages in those situations.
Yeah, absolutely. You don't want him to just sit in the corner, right? The thing is, Chauncey doesn't do enough to draw up sets that get guys in good spots to take shots. And it applies to Scoot, it applies to like everybody on this team, right? We've been complaining about the sets since day one. I had a Twitter argument today with a dude that tried to tell me that every set is ran for Sharpe, which is just one of the most blasphemous things I've ever heard. To be honest with you, like, we see so many stretches of this dude sitting in the corner. Like, how many pin downs, how many curls do we see this dude run? This dude has been really good off curls. I feel like, I don't know, man. How many curls have we ran for Sharpe lately? It feels like very few, Eric.
Yeah, there was one a couple of games ago. The pass wasn't a very good pass, and it kind of got fumbled out of the way, and then they never ran it again. But he was open coming off it. It's frustrating.
Yeah, it's like we've seen him look really good off these curls, and we struggled to remember times where they're ran. I just don't understand the unwillingness to have this dude coming off curls like 3 times a quarter, right? And if teams overplay him, teach your big how to slip off the screen and backdoor lob, right? And all right, if you don't give him the ball, go run an action on the other side of the floor, or then run your freaking pick and roll you want to run all the time, or then run 3 dribble handoffs that you love to run. Just try and throw in a curl to start a set. If Sharpe's open off of it, he's been lethal. And that's how you can try and get him shots. And that's where it's like, okay, this dude has 21 points in the first half last game and then doesn't take a single shot attempt in the first 8 minutes of the second half. And it's like you're not running stuff for him like that. So, and Scoot, like you can even interchange some of these guys, like have Scoot coming off of it, right? And have the screen set a little bit lower because defenders are going to want to go under, and that way he can catch the ball a little closer to the rim and try and make something happen. Right? Or, all right, he steps back for 3, gets an open 3. Like, I'm cool with Scoot shooting open 3s. He's 2 for 4 today. He's been shooting better since the start of the season. Like, all right, fine. Defenders want to completely go under and give him a completely wide open 3. Good. Shoot it. Like, get him a wide open 3. So I just don't understand the system. I don't understand the offense. It's reliant upon guys hitting tough shots. That's why I'm not too hard on guys that end up taking tough shots. I'm more hard on, like, if you miss a read or if you, like, get too tunnel vision and, like, dribble too much, because you can always try and swing the ball, screen away, that sort of thing. But at the end of the day, when you're not running good action, it's going to result in some tough looks.
Yeah. The other thing that's frustrating along those lines, we have Denny, man.
Yeah.
He can pass the ball, so there's no excuse not to have. Because remember, Tori, when we used to be told the Blazers don't have a guy like Draymond Green who can make a pass if you run a set, right?
Yeah, I can't pass to a wide open guy, apparently, yeah.
Like we used to be told that when we talked about Stotts not running plays for like Dame off ball and stuff. Like, well, it's got no one who could pass in the ball if he runs it off a screen or whatever. And, like, so stupid, right? But like, we have Denny, right? Like,
Yeah.
even Tamani is, I don't know how many assists he had tonight, but like, he had 5 assists or something last game. Like, he's a capable passer if you want him to be. So like, Denny should be on ball, and we could run all kinds of different things. And Denny's one of those big guys that you've talked about, like Luka being, where you can see over the defense, you can make passes that the littler guys can't, and you can run any kind of offense and get the ball. You can throw a flare pass, you can throw a cross-court pass, you can throw it to the middle on a curl screen like you were talking about. So you can do that. Like, that's why you get a guy like Denny, and that's why you want forwards who can handle the ball and make plays and stuff like that. So you open up your offense to being completely unpredictable and being able to run all this stuff for your shooters and your guards off ball. But like, what I don't understand how that's not being incorporated enough. Like, it makes no sense to me, and that's why I have no faith in this coaching staff.
Yeah, and that's where it's like getting past the whole excuse of like the roster sucks. What do you want him to do? Well, there's not enough context behind it. You got a piece in Denny that you can have initiating some of these action, and you got some guards that can do some things. So don't give me just the whole blanket excuse of like there's nothing you can do because they're not good, right? Because that's just surface level. Like there's no context behind that. You got Denny, he can pass the freaking ball. Tamani has shown some flashes of passing. Even if Tamani struggles to make basic passes in a set, that doesn't mean you don't have him not do it, because you want him to have to make reads out of sets where it's like, okay, do you hit the guy curling or do you hit the big that slips back door off the curl or this or that? You want Tamani making those reads so he can develop into one of the guys that can run some good action and make the right reads as a forward that maybe has the ball at the top of the arc. Right? You don't just shy away from trying to do good stuff just because you have a young team that isn't developed yet, because that's how you develop them. You don't just park them in the corner and just say, like, yeah, if you catch the ball, all right, shoot, or maybe drive baseline. Like, okay, he's had that situation so many times. Like, he doesn't need more reps there. He needs reps where he's having to read the defense and make a pass, hit a cutter, run good action. And that's where people, wonder why we criticize Chauncey so much. He's a lame duck head coach. He's going to be gone. This team is young. Chill on him. But it's like, that's where I start to worry about, okay, maybe we're not doing a good enough job to develop guys because we got young players like Klingon really passed the ball well at UConn. How many situations do we put him in where like he's making a read at the top of the arc and like hitting a cutter or hitting a backdoor guy, or like you running a staggered screen for somebody, and like, how many actions is he sitting up there at the top of the arc and making decisions out of? He did that a ton in college at the highest of levels in college, right?
I don't think the Blazers don't seem to trust him to do it.
That's the whole thing with me, is it's like, oh, we don't trust you to do it right now. It's, going to hurt our ability to win games. It's not about winning games. It's about developing your young players. You're in a rebuild. And that's where it's just everything gets lost for me, where you're not focusing enough on developing players. And Chauncey is, people say, oh, he's trying to tank. It's like, I think he's trying to win games. And it's like, if he doesn't trust Donovan or Tamani to make some of these reads, make some of these passes, he's not going to have them do that. But it's like they need to be doing that because it's good for their long-term outlook to learn how to do this stuff that they might struggle with now. Here's the thing. Struggles bring improvement. Failures breed success. It's the same way in life. It's the same way in sports. It's the same way on the basketball floor. So that's the thing with Klingon. It's like every time he has the ball on the top of the arc, he would be like quarterback in the offense for UConn. And then now he's in the NBA. Yes, the game moves faster, but it's like He's not even put in a position to potentially grow there at the NBA level. It's like, oh yeah, get the ball at the top of the arc. He turns his back, hands it off to someone. Yay, another freaking dribble handoff. This is a really good way to develop our players. Just teach them how to hand off the ball. You know what? Maybe they could go be a quarterback because at least they can hand the ball off to a freaking running back. They can hand the ball off. Good job. No, we don't want these guys making reads. We don't want these guys developing their ability to read a defense. No, we want them to turn their back to the rim, not look at the defense, and just like, here you go, Ant. Go ISO and shoot a step back three. So that the haters can get pissed off at you. Right? But it's like, where does that all start? It starts with what they're running. It starts with their offense. And it starts with the architect of their offense, if you can even call Chauncey that. It's Chauncey.
Yeah.
So.
You guys are like 2025 coaches. Chauncey is like a 2003 coach. Yeah. But I mean, even back then when he played, like, you had to do this stuff too. Like, you couldn't just... I don't know, man.
So...
I don't get it. There was so you're talking about like being critical of reads and stuff. There was one play for Anthony tonight where he shot a really tough, like almost like hook shot thing, and he had Klingon wide open it would have been an easy 2 points. Yeah. And that's the kind of stuff. Like, I agree. Like, you can't get so caught up in your shooting that you're not seeing that. So there were a play or two that they could have made something happen despite the offense not helping them or doing them any favors. But for the most part, when you continually just say, hey, go make a play, that's what they have to do. And that's how their mindset is being transformed by Chauncey Billups. So, like, how are they supposed to then, like, not do that at certain points? Like, I don't know if that's... I mean, obviously the players need to execute, and they need to maybe see stuff better, that even if Chauncey's not telling them to do that. But, like, I don't know. I feel like it's just been Harp so long. And I mean, we've had numerous examples of Chauncey Billups saying that's what he's telling these people. So, like, I don't understand what they're supposed to do. And it gets frustrating for me seeing people who then are like thinking they're the problem when it's like they're trying to bail out this crappy system, not causing the crappy system. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Let's talk about Scoot. So, he got to the free throw line early in the year, and that has tapered off a ton. But tonight, 12 for 12 from the free throw line. I love that He got there 12 times, and I love that he made every freaking free throw. Like, that is maybe his path to being an efficient scorer, is just finding ways to get to the free throw line, right? So, what'd you notice there that was different than some of his recent games?
I think it's just more like, because once he got a couple times to the line, the frequency of it increases, and it's like a lot of the games recently where he hasn't gotten to the line, or it's he's struggled to score, is just like he's not driving with like conviction and stuff. And like tonight, I feel like, it definitely looked like some of his better games earlier in the year where he just creates contact on those drives, and then the finishing doesn't matter, because like you're getting to the line, and if you can maybe make some and ones and stuff off of it too, it helps. But yeah, I think especially early on in his career, but while he's still trying to learn how to finish and shoot and stuff like that, I think I don't think this is a negative thing. I would become a free throw merchant if I was him, and just like, I mean, we talked about this at the beginning of the show. You hate how it's called the way it's called, but if they're going to call it that way, where you can initiate contact and it's a foul on the other team, you might as well, if you're a guy like Scoot, who's, got that low to the ground, sturdy base that can go in there, absorb contact, and really get into players and make it look like you're being fouled. It's the other thing too, is because like I don't know, Anthony gets fouled a lot, I feel like, on drives, but it doesn't necessarily look like it's a hard foul or anything. But like Scoot, you get this like bowling ball going in there and he's like ping ponging off people and like so it like looks like it's a lot more like forceful than it is. So I think he can get to the line even more than he does, maybe not more than 12 times a game, but like in terms of like overall, yeah. So I'd almost rather him like, okay, well, I talked about him needing to look to be a pass first point guard, but if he's going to score or look to score, I think he should be looking for contact almost every time. And I almost feel like it like helps him too, like, because like a lot of times he'll just go in there and when he's like doesn't have anyone, it's like he has a tendency to like lay it up hard off the glass if he's just going full speed at the rim. So like I almost feel like having a defender there kind of slows him down, and then he can like go into that contact and like just take an extra second to shoot it. So I just wish he would do this more often, and I think it's going to be key to him whether he becomes a good starting point guard of the NBA or not is going to be largely dependent on how well he gets to the free throw line and what his free throw rate and stuff like that is.
Yeah, I'm curious what you think of this take, okay? I feel like early in the year he was doing a better job than last season in terms of picking moments to really accelerate, right? Like on his drives. And I feel like that's a big reason why he's getting to the free throw line is like he would find a sliver of space and like hit the gap fast and would get fouled. I feel like as the season has gone on, and I don't know if this is like a bad thing or not, it might not be. Like I feel like as the season has gone on, he's started to become more like methodical and even slower with his drives in order to play more under control. I feel like that's why he had a stretch where like his turnovers started dropping, where he wasn't turning over the ball as much, but he wasn't getting to the free throw line the same way because it was a lot of like drive and maybe he'd have a lane, but he'd keep the defender off his back, like shoot a floater, that sort of stuff. And I feel like that's been the difference, and I feel like the key for him is going to be learning when to drive slow, and like play more methodical, and then finding the right opportunities to use his burst and the right opportunities to like drive 100%. And then that's when you'll see a guy that gets to the line but plays under control, and it's just the decision-making aspect between those two things. And then that's when I think you might see like a consistent jump. I just think it's, tough to always know when the game moves so fast, and that's why just point guards need reps. It's tough to know exactly when to do what in that regard.
Yeah.
So do you agree with that observation?
I think he's definitely, as the season's gone on, like I said, the frequency of the drives, I think, has just gone way down. So it's hard to say whether or not he's driving with like force, because like it just seems like he drives less than he did earlier in the season,
Yeah, but even on times when he does drive, I feel that way.
Yeah. I don't see. We're talking about, or you mentioned the Brunson, like the way Brunson plays and stuff. Like a lot of that is you're quick enough to get by a defender, but then you like slow down and get them on your hip, and you like, and then but he doesn't have like a push shot or a float game yet. So like
he's shown some flashes of it. He's hit a couple floaters recently.
Yeah, but like I'm like most of the time, like let's say he gets someone on his hip at the free throw line. He's not gonna like be able to, or he hasn't really shown an ability to have like move forward with his shot and go. Like his floaters are like on the run, like I'm talking about like stopping and then like going from a low angle where the guy's behind you and he can't reach over your back to it.
I feel like he had a play recently where he did do that, but it's like I think he's shown flashes of that, and I think that's maybe something he's trying to work in.
Yeah. And so like if he could do that, but like he usually stops, and then like when he shoots, a lot of times he just goes straight up in the air, and so like maybe you can draw fouls that way, but I think like he's quick enough to get by people. So if he uses that like start and stop motion, like he could probably get guys to run into him from the backside, and then like throw the ball up once you get hit and draw fouls that way. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like there was. I don't remember what game that was. Was it last game? Oh yeah, I think it was where he came in. He just like drove hard to the hoop like twice in a row. Once he passed, and one he took a little shot. And so I felt like he was trying to do that a couple times, but then he doesn't really do it throughout the game. Whereas I thought like his rookie season and before he did that. Just he'd come in a game and just drive. And like the results weren't great, but I just felt like he was doing it a lot, you know?
Yeah, it feels like at the start of the season, he had a lot of plays where he draw fouls where he's just like driving quick, throwing his body into guys, and it feels like he's lessened that, right? And I think a balance of both in certain situations is the best case scenario, right? Because when he slows down, he can read the defense a little bit easier, and that's where he's not getting stuck like jump passing like he was his rookie year,
Yeah.
Maybe like every now and then, but like he had a serious problem with like driving to the lane, jumping up, not knowing what he's doing, and then like just throwing the ball to a defender because he didn't know what to do, and he was like smothered in the paint, right? And that's where like he's improved a lot in terms of not doing that. And I think a big part of it is he's playing just a little bit slower when he can and taking time to read the defense. And he's going slow enough where, like, there was times his rookie season where he'd be going so fast that, like, he could not stop. Where he'd take his final 2 steps and he'd still have too much momentum where, like, he's going to travel or he has to jump in the air. So then he'd jump in the air and try and figure out what to do because he's going too fast in a situation where he should not be, right? Because, like, if you have a lane in front of you and you can beat somebody to the backboard, yeah, go 100% to the backboard, beat him to the backboard. But, like, there was just situations where there's too much traffic, the help defense is there, and he would get going so fast trying to just rely upon his speed as a rookie where he could not decelerate enough, jump in the air, and get stuck and turn over the ball. And it just feels like in those situations, now he's playing a little bit more methodically, a little bit more slowly, and he's able to come to a stop, kick out, or he's able to like read the defense well enough that if he does jump pass, he knows where he's going with the ball. Like he's jump passing with a plan instead of just jumping in the air and trying to figure it out. And that's where I think, that's part of the reason why he's maybe not getting to the free throw line as much is because he's not just like sprinting into the lane and careening into a bunch of guys and like having a bunch of turnovers while getting more free throws because of it. Because I feel like that contributes to both. So I think that's a good thing. I think as he develops, he will learn how to pick his spots with his speed a little bit more and with the contact he creates a little bit more. And that's when you'll see the free throw rate tick up again. But I do think it's a good thing that he is trying to play more under control. In like the turnovers he does have, it doesn't feel like he's completely out of control. Like sometimes it's a bad pass or, a mistake here or there. And every now and then he still is out of control, right? It's not like it's ever going to get completely cut out of his game. I mean, even some stars, Giannis has times where he's completely out of control, right? So it's not like he has to completely cut that out to be a good player. Like he can be a good player and still have his mistakes there. But I do think that's the one area where he's really improved, and I do think that's where, there's an article calling him one of the least improved players in the league. I'll talk about that in a second after I just get your thoughts on that, because I do think that's where he's maybe improved the most in terms of any area is not jump passing.
Yeah, I think, was it last game that he had like a ton of shot attempts?
Yeah.
I mean, people are concerned about his numbers dipping, and that's probably part of the reason why that article mentioned it was like, his scoring output's down and stuff like that.
Well,
but
that article reeks of somebody that just took a look at his stats and hasn't watched him play to me.
Yeah, but like I've said this all along, I don't I don't really care how many points Scoot scores. Like obviously, if he becomes an efficient scorer, that's fine. But I'd much rather see improvement in terms of handling the offense and doing the things you're mentioning. And that is where I think he has improved a lot. He doesn't come in the game and just like, oh God, Scoot's just out of control. Like great,
Yeah.
here goes any chance we have in this game. Like, because he's just like literally breaking the backboard on his lands with how hard he's throwing it. And just like totally out of control. So, like I definitely feel like he's coming in and like he's picking his spots to be aggressive, which is good. He's just not like out of control with it, and that is something that's improved. Now that can't be the only thing you improve on, so he still needs to improve on other things. I just keep thinking to where if he ever gets to a point where people are like, okay, we can't leave Scoot open, I
Yeah.
I think that's when he could possibly take that jump because I mean he's doing it pretty good right now without anyone respecting his shot, even when he's making it. So like if he ever gets that respect on his shot, um, and I mean, who knows? Once you get a reputation, it's hard to shake it, like good or bad. So maybe people won't ever really truly respect his shot, even if he is a good 3-point shooter. But